Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're cracking open the hidden blueprints that silently dictate pretty much everything we do in a relationship.
Everything. How
we love, how we fight, even who we end up choosing as a partner. We've pulled from quite a range of sources: clinical practice, pure psychological theory, and even evolutionary biology.
Yeah, and this is such an essential deep dive because our mission today is to unify these three fields that seem so different, infant bonding, couples therapy, mate selection.
Right.
And show that attachment theory isn't just some dusty idea about babies. It's really the fundamental operating system for all human connection.
From the cradle to the grave, as they say. And it all goes back to John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. Their argument was, it was radical for its time.
Complete.
That humans aren't just social by choice. We're biologically wired to form these protective bonds just to survive. It's like hunger.
It's an involuntary drive. Exactly. And from that drive, you get the core concept we have to understand today. The internal working model, or IWM. Think of it like the relational software that gets installed in your brain before you're even 5 years old. It's your silent, subconscious contract with the world.
The software that then runs everything else.
Precisely. The IWM is this mental map that's always answering two key questions for you subconsciously. One, am I worthy of being cared for? And two, are other people? Are they going to be there for me when I need them?
And that's all based on how your early caregivers responded.
Entirely. And once that template is set, it becomes this incredibly powerful, silent predictor of every important relationship you have as an adult. It's your script.
And you have to actively work to rewrite it.
Yes. To map these internal working models scientifically, the gold standard is still Mary Ainsworth's strange situation procedure.
Yeah, SSP.
Yeah, it was designed for infants between 12 and 18 months old, which is right when their attachment system is it's on full display.
Okay, let's unpack this procedure because the name alone, a strange situation, sounds pretty intense.
It does.
It's this 8-episode structured thing they do in a lab. It's basically emotional stress testing for babies, isn't it?
That's a great way to put it. They put the infant under gradually increasing stress with departures and reunions with the caregiver, and a stranger comes in.
And they're watching how the baby reacts.
But not just if the baby cries. They're laser focused on a few things. Does the infant use the caregiver as a secure base to explore from? How upset do they get when the caregiver leaves? And the most critical piece,
the reunion.
The reunion. How does the infant react when they come back? And those reactions sort into 4 main styles.
Okay, but I have to stop you there. This whole thing has been criticized, right? How do we know it's measuring the bond and not just the baby's temperament?
That's a critical question.
Maybe secure babies are just easy babies.
And the research has really worked to separate that. What the SSP measures is the quality of the interaction, the baby's strategy for dealing with stress. A fussy baby can still be secure if they go to the parent, get soothed, and then go back to playing. But a really calm baby who just completely ignores the parent when they return, that's likely an avoidance strategy. It's about dismissing the need for comfort.
That distinction is key. So the majority, something like 60 to 70%, are securely attached. They explore, they get upset when the parent leaves, but they're easily soothed on leave. That's the model of consistent responsive care.
Exactly. And the other kids develop one of the insecure styles: avoidant, anxious, or disorganized. These are all just different coping mechanisms for when care was inconsistent or maybe unresponsive.
And this is where it gets really interesting for us as adults. Let's focus on those 2 classic insecure styles we see in relationships.
We can start with the anxious or preoccupied adult. Because their caregiver was inconsistent, sometimes there, sometimes not, they grew up with this hyper-vigilant attachment system.
Always on high alert.
Always. In adulthood, they crave intimacy, but they have this constant worry about the relationship's stability. They tend to downplay their own importance and really maximize the partners.
And for anyone listening, the way that shows up is the constant need for reassurance, right? The frequent texts, the checking in. It's not a flaw.
No, it's a frantic, often counterproductive attempt to regulate that high alert system. They fear abandonment, so they try to control the distance.
They're often seen as clingy.
But from their side, they're just trying to get a signal that the connection is still there, because their internal model says they could be abandoned at any moment.
And then you have the complete opposite, the avoidant or dismissive adult.
Right. If the anxious person is saying, I must be close. The avoidant person is saying, I must be independent.
I have to be self-sufficient.
Their caregiver was probably consistently unresponsive or maybe even intrusive. So the child learned that reaching out just leads to rejection or pain. The best strategy is to just shut the whole system down.
Wow.
They maximize themselves and minimize the importance of others. As adults, they are masters of independence, experts at hiding their feelings.
And they see real emotional closeness as a threat to their freedom.
A huge threat. They often feel they don't even need it, or they define it as just, living side by side, but without any real emotional mixing. Their internal model says other people are unreliable, so self-reliance is the only logical choice.
So if these blueprints define how we approach intimacy, how do they show up when we fight? This takes us right into couples therapy, specifically emotionally focused therapy, or EFT.
Yes, and this method, mainly from Sue Johnson, is completely built on attachment ideas.
Yeah.
EFT argues that most adult conflicts, they're not really about money or chores.
They're about something else.
They're disguised cries for connection.
But wait, is that a little reductive? I mean, to say that all couples fights are just baby separation anxieties playing out?
That's a fair challenge. But the intensity of those recurring fights, the ones where couples feel totally trapped, those are almost always driven by attachment fears.
Okay.
The core idea in EFT is that when your secure bond feels threatened, it triggers that same primal panic an infant feels. You're wired to panic when your main source of safety seems to be disappearing.
Which leads to that classic devastating dynamic, the negative cycle.
The pursuer and the withdrawer.
Yeah, we see it play out millions of times.
Let's use a classic example, like a fight over the dishes. The pursuer is the one who feels the disconnection first. They try to get the connection back, but because they're panicking, it comes out as criticism. You never help.
Right, which is actually a protest.
It's a frantic attempt to force a reaction, to force some kind of connection, even a negative one.
And the withdrawer, who is often the more avoidant partner, doesn't hear a request for help. They hear an attack on their worth.
They hear, you are failing me. And to cope with that feeling of rejection, which is incredibly painful, they withdraw. They shut down emotionally. Sometimes they literally leave the room.
They go up to the head and out of the heart, as they're say.
Exactly. They intellectualize it to protect themselves. And that's where the cycle locks in. The withdrawer's silence confirms the pursuer's deepest fear. You're abandoning me.
So they pursue harder, they get louder.
Which then confirms the withdrawer's deepest fear. I'm being attacked and controlled. So they retreat even further. It's this awful stalemate.
And it's not just in their heads. One of the sources pointed to research showing that even if the withdrawer looks totally calm on the outside,
Their body's in distress. Their heart rate, their stress hormones are all elevated. They're fighting for survival just with silence instead of yelling.
So let's talk about the most volatile pattern, disorganized attachment. How does that instability show up in adults?
Disorganized attachment is it's chaos. The origins are often in trauma or really unpredictable, frightening parenting, where the person who is supposed to be your comfort is also the person who scares you.
A terrible paradox for a child.
The terrible paradox. The person I need for safety is the source of my fear. In adulthood, this creates that classic unstable push-pull dynamic,
So they're high in anxiety and high in avoidance.
both at the same time. They crave closeness desperately, but the second they start to get it, their internal alarm bells go off and they panic. They might sabotage the relationship just as it's getting good to confirm their belief that intimacy is dangerous.
Okay, that gives us a really clear map of how we relate. But now, what about who we choose? Let's pivot to the evolutionary psychology side of things.
Yeah, and we should say up front, applying these evolutionary ideas to modern life it's debated.
Of course.
But the research on attraction shows we look for two main types of traits in a long-term partner. The first is what they call phenotypic quality.
Looks, basically. Genetic fitness.
Exactly. Physical attractiveness, height, facial symmetry. It's the first filter. The second type is extended phenotypic traits.
And what are those?
These are things that signal investment. So, kindness, supportiveness, ambition, status. Things that say, I'll be a reliable partner.
Which brings up this fascinating finding. Looks are important for that initial filter, but for long-term satisfaction, they're secondary.
Way secondary. We saw one study where physical attractiveness was only about 10 to 20% of the emphasis for long-term choice.
Yeah.
Kindness was closer to 90%.
90%.
Which is the core of the compensation hypothesis. It suggests that partners with, say, lower initial physical attractiveness can actually achieve superior long-term happiness.
Wow.
through what's called multidimensional compensation. They're basically trading that initial sparkle for deep emotional stability. They show they're a better long-term investment through emotional intelligence and just being a good partner.
And that makes perfect sense through an attachment lens. If security is the goal, a reliable, kind partner beats an attractive but unavailable one every time.
Right. And your attachment style probably dictates what you prioritize. An avoidant person might overvalue looks or status because they don't believe in the long run anyway.
While a secure person is better at spotting the long-term investment cues.
That's a great synthesis of it. Your IWM guides what you look for.
That brings us to a specific and sometimes controversial idea, the Trivers-Willard hypothesis.
The TWH. It's all about how parents might allocate resources based on their own condition. So parents in great shape, high resources, good health, might favor sons who could have a higher reproductive payoff.
And parents in poor condition.
They might favor daughters, typically require less investment to be reproductively successful. When you apply it to humans, the data is. It's suggestive, but not definitive.
But there are some correlations.
There are. Studies looking at low socioeconomic status find a slight preference for daughters, which fits the model. It just shows how these deep evolutionary pressures might subtly shape things even today.
Now, this could all feel very deterministic, like we're just stuck with our wiring. But the most hopeful takeaway from all our sources is that these styles are not set in stone.
Absolutely not. You can achieve what's called earned secure attachment later in life. It takes conscious effort, self-awareness, therapy.
So how does that happen in therapy? Let's go back to EFT.
The main tool is the attachment reframe. The goal is to identify that negative cycle and make the enemy, not each other.
Shifting from you are the problem
to we are in this together against this destructive pattern. It changes everything.
How?
By helping partners express their soft attachment needs. So a pursuer who is yelling, "You never spend time with me," is helped to find the vulnerable need underneath that. Because I feel really lonely when you pull away. I just need to know that you're here for me.
And that vulnerability breaks the cycle. The withdrawer is no longer hearing criticism, so they don't have to retreat. They're hearing an invitation to connect.
Exactly. An invitation they can actually step forward and meet.
We also saw models aimed at prevention for the next generation, like the circle of security.
COS, yeah. It's a brilliant, user-friendly translation of Ainsworth's secure base and haven of safety idea into a simple map for parents.
And central to these models is a technique called emotion coaching.
Yes, and it has 5 really practical steps that work for any relationship, not just with kids. First, you have to actually be aware of the other person's emotion, even if it's subtle.
Step 1 is just noticing.
Step 1 is noticing. Step 2 is seeing that emotion as an opportunity to connect. Third, you communicate understanding. I see you're upset. That makes sense.
You validate it.
You validate it. Fourth, you help them put words to the feeling. And fifth, only if it's needed, you help with problem solving. But that comes last.
After the emotional validation.
Always after. The validation is what provides the security. It calms the system down so you can even think about solutions.
Now, before we finish, we have to touch on a major criticism of attachment theory, that it's ethnocentric. The strange situation was based on white, middle-class, Western families.
A really important point. The question is this theory universal? And the research across cultures seems to say yes, the framework holds, but the expression of caregiving looks different.
How so?
In more collectivist societies, an infant might have multiple responsive caregivers, aunts, grandparents. It's not just the mother, but the universal ingredient is still responsive, reliable care. That's what fosters security no matter where you are.
What an incredible journey. We've gone from the primal drive for survival in a baby all the way to adult conflict and even who we're attracted to.
And the central lesson, I think, is something one researcher said perfectly. Dependency is a fact. It is not a choice or a preference.
We are all wired to connect.
We are. And in that context, we're only as needy as our unmet needs. The goal isn't to be radically self-sufficient. It's to find security within that dependency.
That recognition can sometimes lead people to say, well, it is what it is. That stoic idea of accepting what you can't control. And if your internal blueprint feels fixed, it's tempting to just give up on the cycles. Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. What is the critical distinction we have to make between accepting the unalterable fact of our biological need for connection, and on the other hand, recognizing the freedom we have to actively change the strategies, like avoidance or anxiety, that we use to deal with that need? The past is fixed, but the strategy is always up to